Okay. I'm not seeing you. I'm not seeing anything. So I'm just going to start again. Hello, and welcome to another hour of the Mighty Companions. My name is Glenn Morton Ganaway, and I'm an integral mentor, and I'm also an interfaith reverend. I'm really glad that you've chosen to spend an hour with me so I might share my passion with you. I have a passion for A Course in Miracles. I believe that A Course in Miracles is one of the best texts today to talk about a non-dual awareness. That non-dual awareness is something we talk about in many different circles, but it basically means what the Bible says, that we are all one. We are all joined as Christ. We are all joined as the Son of God. We are always and will forever be with and as God, without separation. We are not separate from God. So, with that kind of awareness, I'd like to welcome to this Saturday afternoon. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day here in Brooklyn, and it's we're entering into the fall, probably my favorite season. If it's not the fall there for you when you watch this, know that I am enjoying some crisp autumn air. The window is open, and I'm hoping that I don't get too much noise from the park just below me. So, welcome to the Mighty Companions, where we take a look at we're going to go through this year for the book of A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles has the primary text has 669 pages. So we can read the text every year if we read 12.8 pages a week. And that's what we do during this hour. We go over the high points of those 12.8 pages. In the past couple of weeks, each of the chapters, we're up to chapter 25, but each of those chapters in the past have been about 24, 25 pages, and that means that every week is like half a chapter. So we do half a chapter, and then we review, and then we do another chapter. Well, today we are back to one entire chapter. This chapter has about 13 pages, so I'm going to make an exception and show you we're going to do the entire chapter this time. It's chapter 25. Chapter 25 is called Salvation and the Holy Relationship. This is one of the basic kind of core ideas for A Course in Miracles. And now we've talked a lot about in the past projection. And this builds on the idea of projection that we only see the world how we believe. We only are looking at what we believe when we are seeing the world, okay? And if that is true, then in our relationships, we are seeing in others what we are ourselves. Now, we can do that in like what they call a golden shadow way, and recognize someone as beautiful and talented and of great value, and we can appreciate them and their what they do and all of that. Or we can just project our shadow onto them. We can say, "Oh, he's an awful person. Oh, she's shallow," or those kind of things. But knowing that idea of projection means that we're only ever looking upon what we can not accept about ourselves. When we project it onto somebody else, we disown it and project it onto somebody else. And we do that positively, and we do that negatively. Well, with that idea in hand, we've learned that in the past. That's a very Jungian idea, and one that the Course in Miracles does support. We call that kind of a spiritual law. What you're encouraged to look inside of ourselves and discover who we really are. The Course says over and over and over again, child of God, son of God, my child, those kind of things. So we are the one creation. We are the thing. We are the thing, the idea that has been created. We are forever resting perfectly and peacefully in the mind of God, and God rests in us as well. It's that kind of a beautiful paradox of non-dualism, of Advaita. Okay, so if you've been paying attention, you would be also on roughly lesson 365. So I want to go over that with you, and then we'll get to some workbook instructions and a little bit about what the course says about itself. Okay, so we are up to roughly lesson 265. We only have about 90 days left in the year. So we're lesson 265. So lesson 365 would be about 100 days. So we're a few days behind here in the lessons because of problems we've had here technically and otherwise. Like today had some technical problems. We love the internet, and we love letting things be exactly as they are, which is also contained in this section of lessons. But today I want you to bring into, to highlight for you with this notion of projection that she's building on today, the idea of lesson 265 called Creation's Gentleness is All I See. Okay, creation's gentleness is all I see. I have indeed misunderstood the world because I laid my sins on it and saw them looking back at me. How fierce they seemed, and how deceived I was to think that what I feared was in the world instead of in my mind alone. Today I see a world in the celestial gentleness with which creation shines. There's no fear in it. Let no appearance of my sins obscure the light of heaven shining on the world. What is reflected there is in God's mind. The images I see reflect my thoughts. Yet is my mind at one with God's, and so I can perceive creation's gentleness. In quiet, when I look upon the world, which but reflects your thoughts and mine as well, let me remember that they are the same, and I will see creation's gentleness. See, when we look in upon ourselves, when we look at ourselves, we really know who we are. We begin to see the world as a gentle and safe place. Now, when we think that we make poor choices, or we think we're sinful or wrong or inherently bad, we see that in the world. We see the world as a dangerous place. It's not actually a dangerous place, but that doesn't make it any less fearful for us. In order for the world to be less fearful, we have to understand what is frightening us. And we're going to look at that today. The Course in Miracles is a good place to find life's living lessons. It is a good place to find kind of the rules for living. I would call it the ways of understanding healthy human consciousness. I call the Course in Miracles a consciousness technology. Maybe we could look at it that way instead of saying it's a spiritual system. This is truth with a capital T. Maybe we could just look at it as a spiritual technology, as a consciousness, as a maturity building structure. Structures that we could use the Course to implement, structures that grow us up. As simple as just growing up. You see, from the introduction, it says, this is a Course in Miracles. And I would say life, this world, our human existence is a Course in Miracles. Existence is a Course in Miracles. It is a required course, only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will doesn't mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The Course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. I love that. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists, and herein lies the peace of God. we're searching for the peace of God. You see, I have this idea that it's possible to be peaceful, to be experiencing peace all the time, like, no matter what is going on. I use the Course in Miracles and other technologies like Buddhism and Hinduism and some of the deep Lakota one system ideas, deep ecology, to lessen my kind of tendency or temptation towards anxiety and fear. I use A Course in Miracles to choose well, to hold up as a criteria and an intent to help me choose well. Because I want to be able to experience reality as it is and not put my own spin on it. I think reality is here and can be experienced by a body. In fact, I think that's what bodies are for, and we'll do that a little bit later, I think in chapter 25. Do you have anxieties, or are there habits that you'd like to change? Maybe habits that you'd like to develop? Do you think there's maybe something more that's here for you to do? Do you think maybe that you're not really living at your full potential, or even half potential? Are you generally a happy, playful person? See, the Course says that our default, I'm paraphrasing, but it says our default setting is joy. And that is goes along with what the Buddhists call the ground of being. Buddha was once asked to describe the ground of being, and he said, joy. Isn't that interesting? It isn't like nothingness, it's joy. Joy doesn't have conditions. So it's possible that we could be experiencing who we are no matter what's going on. So I'd like to offer you some ways is about salvation and a holy relationship today. This is what she says about how to use the book and how to use the lessons. The overall aim of the exercises, the overall aim of this program, the overall aim of this hour with you is to increase my ability to extend the ideas you will be practicing to include everything. This will require no effort on your part. The exercises themselves meet the criteria for this kind of transfer. Some of the ideas the workbook contains you will find hard to believe, and others may seem to be quite startling. This does not matter. You're merely asked to apply the ideas as you are directed to do. You're not asked to judge them. You're asked only to use them. It is their use that will give them meaning to you and will show you that they are true. Remember only this: you need not believe the ideas, you need not accept them, you need not even welcome them. Some of them you may actively resist. None of this will matter or decrease their efficacy, but do not allow yourself to make exceptions in applying the ideas the workbook contains. And whatever your reactions to the ideas may be, use them. Nothing more than that is required. If you apply the ideas and use what comes up in the moment, you will begin to understand not only who you are, but you will begin to make decisions that support your body's ability to experience the joy of who you are. How about that? No matter what is happening. No matter what is happening. And that's the promise of A Course in Miracles, and I do experience it more than I don't. Sometimes I think my nose is just like buzzing off. When I get in front of you, I get all tingly and buzzy. My ears ring. I experience a heightened sense of awareness. So know that I have experiences too. I'm working with this world, this now, in this body, applying the ideas that peace is here, that I'm doing what I need to do, and that all is well. And I'm really excited about sharing my passion with you for A Course in Miracles. We're up to chapter 22, and we're going to see, I'm going to offer you some ideas that you might be able to use to improve now your relationships. It's kind of interesting that she has salvation and a holy relationship as only like 13 pages, from 67 page 267 or 367 to 380. So, how she only takes like 12 specific pages to talk about salvation and the holy relationship, because that's such a huge method in which she talks about throughout the whole course. We need each other, and we practice best with each other. These ideas in spiritual rules and spiritual ideas and laws and all of that are to be applied in relationship. And she implies in other places in the course that what we mostly are is a relationship. What we mostly are is this holy relationship. Knowing that and acting like that saves us from that anxiety and fear that I was talking about earlier. Salvation would be nothing. Salvation is worth nothing if there were no illusions. And illusions are what frightens us. So we are being saved from our illusions. So what does a holy relationship have to do with saving us from illusions? Let me tell you. Section 1, and it says, in the introduction, I love chapters with an introduction. Usually they're really large, huge, giant. Well, they don't all have introductions, but this is one of the shortest chapters, and it has an introduction, which makes it really unusual, because most of the chapters that have introductions are enormous. But this one is small, and I'm going to read you the introduction here. It says, "Take pity on yourself, so long enslaved. Rejoice whom God hath joined. Rejoice whom God hath joined, have come together, and need no longer look on sin apart. No two can look on sin together, for they could never see it in the same place and time. Sin is a strictly individual perception, seen in the other, yet believed by each to be within himself." See, there's that idea of projection I want us to understand from the get-go. "And each one seems to make a different error, and one the other cannot understand. Brother, it is the same, made by the same, and forgiven for its maker in the same way. The holiness of your relationship forgives you and your brother, undoing the effects of what you both believed and saw, and with their going is the need for sin gone with them." Know that when you see sin, you've stepped out of time, because you're looking at the past, right? You're looking at the body, and you're looking at the past. You stepped out of reality. So you're really the only one that can see this sin. And when you're this thing that's so wrong and broken, my shorthand definition of sin is break God. You can't break God. You can't sin. I know that's the kind of a controversial idea, but she counteracts sin with the idea of error. So keep that in mind if you have a problem with the idea of nobody all have sinned. So then we looked about that in the Laws of Chaos, which is like one of my favorite lessons. The idea that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Well, that's not. You can't break God. So sin is just believing in error. And it takes a body, and it only happens in the past. So Who has need for sin? She says. Who has need for sin? Why do you need sin? Why do we keep insisting that sin is real? Well, only the lonely and the alone who see their brothers different from themselves. Who has need of sin? The lonely and the alone, and those who see others as different than themselves. It is this difference, seen but not real, that makes the need for sin, but real be seen, seem justified. There it is. That makes the need for sin not real but seen. Not sin isn't real. It just seems to be there, justified. A holy relationship starts from a different premise. See, here we are in the holy relationship, in the introduction to holy relationship. Holy relationship starts from a different premise. Each one has looked within and looked within and seen no lack. See, have you looked within and seen no lack? Please look within and know that you lack nothing to accomplish what you are to do in the world. So each one, in a holy relationship, each one has looked in and seen no lack. Accepting his completion, he would extend it by joining with another. That's whole as himself. He sees no difference between these selves, for differences are only of the body. Therefore, he looks on nothing he would take. See, that's another law of chaos. Believes you can keep what you can take. That's totally scientific materialism. That's all it is. Think what a holy relationship can teach. Here is a belief in differences undone. Differences. We talk about equality. We talk about justice. And we'll talk about justice here in a couple of chapters. The justice of God. And it is basically this idea of differences not being the case. What we see as differences is not true. Our differences are only about things like body shape and color and gender and all of that. But those things aren't really differences. They are actually the same being, the same God, the same expression coming forth. The expression is different, but what is being expressed is not different. Can you see beyond that? So we can see each other as not different, as unique, but not comparable. It's that beautiful paradox. Think what a holy relationship can teach. Here's a belief in differences undone. Here's the faith in differences shifted in sameness. Reason now can lead you and your brother to the logical conclusion of your union. Yay, that's what we want, right? We want the promise that all is well, that I am one and I act like it, and that we can operate as a community. We can operate in reality here together as one holy relationship. That's the oneness, right? That's what we're going for, to be able to experience and know the joy of the created in a body. Beautiful. It must extend. This idea of a holy relationship must extend as you extended it when you join. It must reach out beyond itself as you reached out beyond the body to let others be joined. And now the sameness that you saw extends and finally removes all the senses of differences, so that the sameness that lies beneath them all becomes apparent. Here is the golden circle where you recognize the Son of God. For what is born into a holy relationship can never end. Another word for the oneness is she uses in the course is the golden circle. Kind of interesting. The golden circle. Maybe I'll have to remember that. It's quite a beautiful metaphor of the golden circle. Reminds me of some mirror magic. It reminds me of cathedrals. Reminds me of halo. It's a beautiful image. The golden circle is a pretty ancient image as well. So we're first of all, the first thing that we need to know, we need to make sure that we understand in the introduction, is that we are learning how to behave in a relationship without differences, to be able to be in a relationship with ourselves. She asks us over and over again to look within and to see others as ourselves. And that's can be can be kind of difficult. So I want to first put that out there, that the first idea is that we must, in order to experience the oneness, in order to experience the golden circle, we must look within and discover who we are and recognize that sameness in others. That's kind of the idea. So what is the message? So section 2 is called the message of the holy relationship. And it says this: of all the messages you have received and failed to understand, this course alone is open to your understanding and can be understood. This is your language. You do not understand it yet because your whole communication is like a baby's. The sounds a baby makes and what he hears are highly unreliable, meaning different things to him at different times. Neither the sounds he hears nor sights he sees are stable yet. But what he hears and does not understand will be his native tongue, through which he will communicate to those around him, and they with him. And the strange shifting ones he sees about him will become to him his comforters, and he will recognize his home and see them there with him. We do learn and grow. We do grow up. We do move and change. Our bodies grow. We grow and change, and we acquire new skills. And when we begin this relationship with God, we begin on a spiritual journey, very often we don't understand what we're doing. We look at our teachers, we look at our relationship with God. We're this little baby, maybe in prayer life. And that's kind of the way it is. We are growing into our own spiritual nature, growing from our spiritual nature. So the beginning on this path, it's okay to not know what you're doing. It's okay to be learning, and it's okay to really not know how to conduct yourself in a relationship, or to really communicate with God what you know, what you see, or what is really happening for you. We are babies in that relationship as a child to the Father needs to grow up, needs to be developed, and it's okay to be at this stage of not knowing and really not understanding. Can you give yourself permission to kind of do that, to be okay with where you are, or to be okay with maybe not knowing everything? So, think what is given you, my holy brother. This child will teach you what you do not understand and make it plain. For his will be no alien tongue. He will need no interpreter for you, for it was you who taught him what he knows because he knew it. He could not come to anyone but you, never to something else. Where Christ has entered, no one is alone, and never could find his home in separate ones, but must be reborn into his ancient home, so seeming new and yet old as he, a tiny newcomer, depending upon the holiness of your relationship to let him live. It's a joyous relationship. We're teaching ourselves kind of how to allow ourselves to be ourselves. And we kind of have to, like the introduction says, learn how to remove the blocks to love's awareness. That I think is an acquired skill to do as a body, but it means being who we are. It means doing that diligent work of looking within, and we find ourselves kind of reborn. Have you ever experienced that? You come to a place where you have this this realization, and you feel more of yourself, more like yourself than you've ever felt before. Maybe you experienced it by going to a certain place. Maybe it was a retreat center, or maybe it was falling in love, or maybe it was finding the church, or finding a book by Krishnamurti, or something like that. And suddenly you felt at home, or like it was like you were seen. You could see what was going on. That kind of a coming home, that kind of rebirth is natural. And and I would offer, we need to be doing that over and over and over again. We need to remain finding ourselves uncomfortable and moving toward greater comfort. Now, that greater comfort is, I mean, a greater comfort in our ability to express ourselves fully without filters. Now, there's another kind of comfort that leads us into stagnation. Because we often take physical comforts, when I'm speaking of physical, we often take physical comfort as happiness, and I'm not talking about that. Physical comfort is not happiness. If it was true, that would mean all that you needed to be happy, joyous, and free, or enlightened would be $1 million, and we know that's not true. So be certain God did not entrust His Son to the unworthy. That spark of life in us. We often think that that we're not worthy, and then we have to prove ourselves as good and worthy people. It's not true. Life was given us because we're worthy of developing life in a body. We're worthy of experiencing life in a body. We make good choices. We're human. We are the child of God, and our inner nature, who we are, can be trusted. Do you think God put an evil form of life in you, or God gave you a body and a life and consciousness and awareness and all of this of any kind if He didn't think you were capable of, managing it well? Of course she did. We do manage this well, but we'll manage it better if we believe that we can do it. A lot of us don't. Know that you're capable of being yourself. Nobody else is capable of being you. You don't have to be taught how to be you. Be certain God did not trust His Son to the unworthy. Nothing but what is part of Him is worthy of being joined. Nor is it possible that anything not a part of Him can join. Communication must have been restored to those who join, for this they could not do through bodies. What then has joined them? Reason will tell you that you must have seen each other through a vision, not of the body, and communicated in a language the body doesn't speak. Nor could it be a fearful sight or sound that drew them gently into one. Rather, in each other saw a perfect shelter where his self could be reborn in safety and in peace. Such did his reason tell him. Such he believed because it was the truth. We find ourselves, our truest self, in relationship with others. We enter into sharing intimate relationships with each other and find ourselves. Because we are that relationship, we're not bodies, we're not things. We're the oneness, we're the wholeness. We are whole and complete because we are all there is, because we are that relationship. Section 1 is the introduction, and it asks us to consider that we are one, and we can learn to act like it. Section 2, the message of the Holy Spirit, says we can develop this relationship like the relationships with children, and we can build upon this relationship, and we will and to do that well, we need other people in our lives. The message of the holy relationship is to tell us that what we have found that we love within ourselves is what we will find and share with others in others. Your brother's sinlessness. Now, this is more of the idea of projection, and see if you can see what I'm talking about here. The idea of projection. Section 3, the soul's sinlessness. The soul's sinlessness. Do you believe in sinlessness? I hope you have some reasonable idea by now that the way that we think about sin in the Western world is kind of wacky. We think that something has to be sacrificed, right? We have to, we did something wrong, so we have to kill something to make up for it. Those ideas come from really, really ancient laws and understanding about how to compensate. And sin first, as I'm sure you've heard around these spiritual circles. Sin is an ancient archery term. Just means to miss the mark. It means to not hit the bullseye. You either are hitting the bullseye or you're sinning. Right? There's everything else is sin, and then you have the bullseye or sin. Sin doesn't count. So I would offer. So in the past, the law said that, like, if you hurt me, you, like, let's say you hurt my son in the field, that you had to, or my son was accidentally killed in your care, that you would be required to give me a flock of goats or something like that. And that's what the law said. That was then sin became the idea associated with compensation and the law, and balancing things out. And because of this. But that's a man-made system, and we can say we need to sacrifice this so this will happen. Sacrifice actually is also of that same idea. If I choose one thing over another, I'm not sacrificing this other thing. I'm choosing this. Now, sacrifice would mean I would have to acquire both things and then destroy one of that would require me to destroy one of them to have the other. That's not possible. We don't sacrifice anything. We do what we want to do. We choose to take action in the world. I would ask you to change your idea and change your idea of what sacrifice means. Change your idea about change your method of using the word sacrifice and using the word and understanding the laws of sacrificing well. Sacrifice isn't possible. Sin isn't possible. There are ways of describing the way illusions perpetuate themselves. When we talk about sacrifice, we talk about trying to see an illusion, making it real, and then destroying it. That's ridiculous. And we do that to people as well. We make them wrong, and in order to make it okay again, we destroy them. We have the death penalty. With the death penalty, we make people pay reparations and all of that. Some of that is taking responsibility for material destruction, but it's the cycle of things. That this is all going to go away. All of it. This house and all, this building, all of this is going to go away. It's not permanent. It never has been. To try to stop or manage that is just futile unless we're using those things to facilitate our ability to share with each other. See, sacrifice and sinning and paying for it and all of this is really a way for what we're often trying to do is find a way to reconnect. That connection can't be broken. So the need to reconnect it is that tar baby, the belief that is that cycle that we're moving again and again and again through. So we have to believe that sinlessness is not possible. Can be kind of difficult to act on, but listen to this. Reason will tell you that the only way to escape from misery is to recognize it and go the other way. Right? That's the correct evaluation of the past, is to look at the mistakes that you made and not repeat them. That's the purpose of the past. Reason will tell you that the only way to escape from misery is to recognize it and go the other way. Truth is the same and misery the same, but they are different from each other in every way, in every instance, and without exception. To believe that one exception can exist is to confuse what is the same with what is different. One illusion cherished and defended against the truth makes all truth meaningless and all illusions real. Do you see the idea of sin and sacrifice there? Such is the power of belief. It cannot compromise, and faith in innocence is faith in sin. Faith in innocence is faith in sin if the belief excludes one living thing and holds out, apart from it, forgiveness. Either we're all doing this, either we're all as that innocence, or we've carved a piece out and made this part bad. You can't. That's not the law. That's not what's true. That's not what we want to experience. I want to experience the truth, so I'm going to act on ideas that are true, like the Course says, whether I believe them or not. I can prove they're true if I act on them. We're all innocent. We make mistakes by making choices that do not lead to peace when that is what we want. Or we make choices that are increasing our ability to share peace and experience peace with others. We're always choosing for peace, but we don't always make the decisions that actually create peace. We aren't always building structures that create and support peace. Those are just mistakes. This is a crucial period in the Course, she continues. For here the separation of you and the ego must be made complete. We must be able to begin to tell the difference between what is actually leading to peace and what isn't. What is actually leading to misery and produces misery, we're able to recognize it and go the other way. Hopefully we're doing that. Hopefully you've begun to apply enough of these ideas that you begin to recognize when you're behaving in ways, when you're trying to make illusions true and supporting your and the misery of others. This is a crucial period in the Course, for here the separation of you and the ego must be complete. For if you have the means to let the Holy Spirit's purpose be accomplished, they can be used. And through their use, you will gain faith in them. Yet to the ego, this must be impossible, and no one undertakes to do what holds no hope of ever being done, right? You don't choose peace if you don't ever think that peace is possible. You're already doing this. Know this about yourself. You know what your Creator wills is possible, but what you made believes it is not so. The ego is what you made. Where the choices that we make that don't support it, the fast track, or the tempted to do it the easy way. Now must you choose between yourself and an illusion of yourself. Ha! Choose between yourself and illusion of yourself. That's a really beautiful, really simple, easy way of talking about making a choice making the choice for the voice within, making a choice for the voice for peace instead of the voice for expediency. It must be made. This choice must be made. She says, faith and belief can fall on either side, but reason tells you misery lies on one side and joy on the other. I can assure you that there is joy ahead for you. There is joy ahead for you. Section 4 is called Reason and Forms of Error. We need to be able to recognize this. And we're into the last 15 minutes. We've covered a lot of ground here. I've got 3 more sections to go. We have to, simple review as always in the introduction. We have to remember that we are one, and that relationships teach us that we're one. The message of the holy relationship is to share this beautiful self we've found in ourselves and discover it in others. In order to do that, we have to first stop the idea of projecting what we don't like about ourselves onto others. The choice to treat others as we want to be treated is actually a way of experiencing or reinforcing and supporting the notion that we are good ourselves, and that's an important thing to understand. Reason and the forms of error. The introduction of reason into the ego's thought system is the beginning of its undoing, and reason and the ego are contradictory. So it's wonderful. Reason and the ego are contradictory, nor is it possible for them to coexist in your awareness. For reason's goal is to make plain and therefore obvious You can see reason. This is not a play on words, for here's the beginning of a vision that has meaning. Vision is sense. Quite literally, vision is sense. Quite literally, vision is sense. Quite literally. Intuition, your nature, the sense of who you are. It's just sense. Sensing. It is not of the body's sight. It must be understood. For it is plain, and what is obvious is not ambiguous. It can be understood. This sense can be understood. And here do reason and the ego separate to go their separate ways. The ego's whole countenance depends on its belief you cannot learn this course. You cannot learn who you are. You are not trustworthy. You are a big giant ball of brokenness and mistakes. That's what the ego wants us to believe. It's not true. If you share this belief, and reason will be unable to see your errors and make way for their correction. For reason sees through errors, telling you that what you thought was real was not. Reason can see the difference between sin and mistakes because it wants correction. Sin and mistakes. Sin and mistakes. Sin and mistakes. Sin and mistakes. Therefore, it tells you what you thought was uncorrectable. That would be a sin. What you thought was uncorrectable and broken forever can be corrected. Thus, it must have been an error. The ego's opposition to correction leads it to its fixed belief in sin and disregard of errors. It looks on nothing that can be corrected. Thus does the ego damn and reason say. A holy relationship, however newly born. See, we've got this brand new little ball of reason, this brand new excited little voice within us, that we still small voice that we haven't really paid much attention to, that we're strengthening and growing up. Often it's this brand new belief in our own innocence. This holy relationship, however newly born, this relationship with God, this relationship with others, we treat others as we want to be treated, this holy new relationship thing that we look so like fragile, but it's not, must value holiness above all else. Must value holiness be above all else. That idea of holiness has innocence and power and peace and joy, purity, all of that in it. Holiness, believing in each other's holiness. Unholy values will produce confusion and in awareness, confusion in our awareness. In an unholy relationship, each one is valued because he seems to justify the other's sin. You gotta have somebody to do something with and somebody to be the victim. Each sees within the other and what impels him to sin against his will. I would never have hit him if he wasn't so mean to me. And thus he lays his sins upon the other and is attracted to him to perpetuate his sins. We look for people to do this with. And so it must become impossible for each of us to see itself as causing sin by his desire to have sin real. Yeah. Yet reason sees a holy relationship as what it is, a common state of mind. Reason is a common state of mind. I hope reason is a common state of mind for you. I don't think we all enjoy that common state of mind at all times. I'm not saying that we do. Our politics will show you that reason is not a common state of mind, where errors are gladly corrected and that both have happily healed as one. Both where we heal as one, we can use reason to heal where we are projecting onto others. Section 5 is called the branching of the road. Very short. The next two sections are very short. Section 5 and Section 6, weakness and defense and the branching of the road. And then I'm going to read a little bit to you. When you come to a place where your branch of the road is quite apparent, you cannot go ahead. You must go either way or one or the other. For now, if you go straight ahead, the way you went before you reached the branch, you will go nowhere. The whole purpose of coming this far was to decide which branch you'll take now. The way you come no longer matters. You can no longer serve. No one who has reached this far can make the wrong decision, although he can delay, and there is no part in the journey that seems to be more hopeless and futile than standing where the road branches and not deciding on which way to go. You've got to make a decision of trying to make illusions real or trying to prove that oneness exists. Choose who you're going to be. Either you're going to be a sinner or you're going to be somebody who just makes mistakes in implementing and sharing yourself with others. Weakness and defense. So, how do you overcome illusion? Surely not by the force of anger, nor by opposing them in any way, merely by letting reason tell you that they contradict reality. They go against what must be true. The opposition comes from them and not reality. Reality opposes nothing. Let things be exactly as they are. What merely is needs no defense and offers none. Only illusions need defense because of their weakness, and how it can be difficult to walk away from truth when only weakness interferes. You are the strong one in this seeming conflict, and you need no defense. Everything that needs defense you do not want, for anything that needs defense will weaken you. Okay, that's kind of huge. Because of who you are and who your brother is and how strong and beautiful and wonderful this innocent relationship is, and because of your desire and the knowledge of your desire to share well, share fully and authentically with others, you don't have to defend yourself for who you are or how you share or what's going on in this relationship at all. If somebody's asking you to defend, they're asking you to be weak. Know that that's the truth, that you're in a holy relationship and it's not weak. You are who you are and know how to share yourself well with others. So throw out any ideas that you have to justify yourself or that you need to defend what you like or any of that. Share honestly, openly from your heart with the full intention of expanding and experiencing peace with others, and you can't go wrong no matter what it looks like. In this last 5 minutes, I'd like you to listen to what I call the altar call. It's the last couple of paragraphs here, and it comes from section 7. I'm just going to read it all the way through. It's called The Light of the Holy Relationship, and this is where the salvation comes in. If you were one with God and recognized this oneness, you would know his power is yours. But you will not remember this while you believe attack of any kind means anything. It's unjustified in any form because it has no meaning. The only way it could be justified is if one of you were separate from the other and all were separate from the Creator. For only then would it be possible to attack a part of the creation without the whole, the Son without the Father, and to attack another without yourself, or hurt yourself without the other feeling pain. And this belief you want, yet wherein lies its value? Except in the desire to attack in safety. Attack is neither safe nor dangerous. It's impossible. And this is so because the universe is one. You would not choose attack on its reality if you were not essential to the attack to see it as separate from its maker, and thus it seems as if it could love attack and become fearful. Only the different can attack. So you conclude, because you can attack, you must be different. Yet does the Holy Spirit explain this differently? Because you're not different, you cannot attack. Either position is a logical conclusion. Neither would be maintained. Either could be maintained, but never both. The only question to be answered in order to decide which must be true is whether you're different. From the position of what you understand, you seem to be, and therefore can attack. Of the alternatives, this seems to be more natural and in line with your experience. And therefore, it's necessary that you have other experiences more in line with the truth to teach you what is natural and what is true. This is the function of your holy relationship. For what one thinks, the other will experience with him. What can this mean except that their minds are one? Look not with fear upon this happy fact, and think not that it lays a heavy burden on you. For when you have accepted it with gladness, you will realize that your relationship is a reflection of the union of the Creator and his Son. From loving minds, there is no separation, and every thought in one brings gladness to the other because they are the same. Joy is unlimited because each shining thought of love extends its being and creates more of itself. There is no difference anywhere in it, nor any place where every thought is not of itself. The light that joins you shines throughout the universe, and because it joins you, so it makes you one with the Creator, and in Him is all creation joined. Would you regret you cannot fear alone when your relationship can also teach the power of love is there, which makes all fear impossible? Do not attempt to keep a little of the ego with this gift, for it was given you to be used and not obscured. What teaches you that you cannot separate denies the ego. Let truth decide if you be different or the same, and teach you which is true. We're all the same because we're all one. Because we all want peace. Because we are all trying to experience the peace of God together. Some of us are making choices that are trying to make peace impossible. But peace and joy are always here. They are our default settings. When we attack others, when we defend ourselves about who we are actually engaging in ways that are trying to make illusions true so that we can kill them. We're the same. Valuable. Incomparable. Loving children of God. And allow me to support your peace in putting these lessons out into the world. To treat each other as we want to be treated because we know we're the same. Because we want to enforce those ideas. Thank you for being my savior, for saving me from trying to make illusions true. My name is Rev Glen Ganaway, Integral Mentor, and I can be reached at glennganaway.com or through the email at gmganaway@gmail.com. Get on my weekly newsletter and we'll do more of this work together. Go to the Tau Fellowship YouTube page and catch up on those episodes you haven't seen yet. And I will see you next week for another chapter of A Course in Miracles. My passion to implement these ideas, to know that we are all one and we act like it. Have a great, great weekend. It's been my pleasure. My constant companion, God is. My constant companion, God is. Well, I choose heaven, God is. I choose love, God is. I choose joy, I choose joy, because God is. God is. God is.